Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Vikings 5-6, 2-4 on the road. Detroit Lions 0-10-1, 0-5 at home. We're at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. We have this total opening up at 47.5. Now it's at 46.5. And the Vikings opening up as 6.5-point favorites. They are now 7-point favorites. I took a look at the Vikings today. It wasn't one of the spots where I was going to attack or thinking about betting, but I did look at what the odds were. I bet 365. It was minus 105 for the minus 7 if I wanted to move on it, and I didn't at this point. Let's see where the cash lies here in this one. We have 2,938 tickets in. 16% of the tickets on the Lions, 34% of the cash. I mean, that's been happening quite often. 47% of tickets on the over. 60% of cash on the over. Harold Williams says Vikings with no hesitation. Dennis Garcia says Detroit +7 and the under. Alan Stewart says Lions get their first win this week. And Birdie says he bet the under in this game. And Crystal Warren says Bebs is unshockable. She's impressed. Vikings come in. Vikings coming off 35. I love Crystal. Vikings coming off a 34-26 loss at San Francisco. Again, thank you. Not Flush Allen. Thank you for giving me the confidence to pull the trigger because I swear I wasn't going to, and then I just kept hearing you in my head. Kirk Cousins was 20 of 32 for 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dalvin Cook, 10 carries for 39 yards, caught 6 passes for 62 yards before hurting his shoulder in the third quarter and leaving the game. He's expected to miss the next 2 weeks. Alexander Madison came in, ran the ball 7 times for 21 yards. Justin Jefferson, 4 catches for 83 yards. Thielen caught 5 passes for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. Akene Nwangu returned a kickoff 99 yards for a score. The defense had 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, and Harrison Smith had an interception. The Vikings have allowed 66 points in the final 2 minutes of the first half. That's the most for any team through 11 games since at least 2000. That's a hard team. That is a hard team to back if you know that their coaching is that shitty. Because they're a skilled team. Vikings scored on their second drive of the game to take a 7-0 lead. So they're the 17th team in the Super Bowl era to take a lead of at least 7 points in each of their first 11 games. The first 16 teams to do that had a combined winning percentage of .852. The Vikings have a losing record. You know, the stats for the Vikings are so messed up. It really makes them a tricky cap. Patrick Peterson was placed on the reserve COVID list yesterday. Anthony Barr is dealing with a hamstring injury. We all know what Everson Griffin did last week. And, we care about these athletes, and it was sad watching it. So, nothing more to say other than he's not going to be playing. BC Johnson, guard Wyatt Davis, and Cameron Bynum, safety Cameron Bynum, were inactive last week, and Ellis is questionable this week. Lions coming off a 16-14 loss at home to the Bears on Thanksgiving Thursday. I came so close to betting the Bears, and it would have been a losing bet. And I don't know how I stayed off the Bears. I did catch the under, but I came so close to betting the Bears. Jared Goff returned from a 1-game absence with an oblique injury, 21-25, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, also lost a fumble. Josh Reynolds had 3 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson caught 3 passes for 35 yards. DeAndre Swift left the game after he hurt his shoulder in the second quarter. So he was not cleared to return. He sprained the same shoulder 2 weeks ago. He's not going to be in the lineup this Sunday. Jamal Williams did have 15 carries for 65 yards, so they still can run. Lions couldn't dial up enough pressure. 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. Oruware looks dynamite. He was so strong, and he had that 1 big interception. He almost had a couple more. Linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maben was injured during the game. List is questionable this week. Deshaun Hand, inactive last week. He's already been listed as out this week. Palu Vaitai, offensive tackle Matt Nelson, linebacker Trey Flowers, all inactive last week. Listed as questionable this week. Bebsie, here we go. Vikings-Lions, take it away.
Well, listen, I'm with Vitalis on this. I think the only team you can bet is the Vikings, but it's really hard to back the Vikings here. Like you said, Jimmy, the statistic alone that teams that have a 7-point lead in their first 11 games are .850 or whatever winning percentage, and we're looking at a team with a losing record. This is a bad coach. There's no other way to explain that. There's no other way to explain that stat and the fact that they've given up the most points in the NFL inside of 2 minutes of the first half. That's really what changed the tide in this Vikings Niners game last weekend. The Vikings were rolling. The Niners were having a lot of trouble answering them. Scored on that long touchdown drive at the end of the half. Came out firing at the start of the second half, and Minnesota, quite frankly, was lucky to have it as close as they were. Without that kickoff return for a touchdown, they were destitute. So, I don't know how you put your hard-earned money behind the Minnesota Vikings, playing a Detroit team that they're not going to, they're not going to go 0-17, but they could go winless in 17 games. So they're a dangerous team. They are, because they have nothing to lose. It's you don't fight somebody who has nothing to lose because they're unpredictable. Detroit's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Minnesota. That's one hand. On the other hand, I mean, there is nobody is going to be able to stop Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, and Justin Jefferson. Madison is not Dalvin Cook, but Madison is a solid running back. So it's Vikings or nothing. For me, it's nothing. I don't want any part of this garbage fire.
I get it. And neither do I. And I would have bet it when I was staring at it today. But I do think that Crystal's right. She said, I kind of think the Vikings will take out their frustrations from last week on these lines like a drunk stepdad. And Die Hard MMA Podcast has been giving us these weekly Vikings PSA, and they've been on point every week. And he says the Vikings lost another close game to a great team with a bad no-catch call and a no flag on an obvious pass interference. They will be angry. Vikings roll. Harold Williams says Vikes by 17.
Just for the record, that was not a catch.
Thank you. Dennis Garcia says 23-17 Minnesota. Dennis says Minnesota has one win by more than 7. Minnesota is a favorite? No. So I guess it comes down to, are you comfortable? Not comfortable. You take DeAndre Swift off of this offense, and do you trust Jamal Williams to be able to keep defenses honest? Or how do you see the Jamal Williams replacing DeAndre Swift situation?
I mean, I think I'm a big DeAndre Swift fan. I think he's a stud. So, yeah, I think major step down here. But listen, this Vikings run defense, they took the approach of stacking the box against the Niners and trying to shut down that run game to try and shut down these long drives. Well, San Francisco ran for over 200 yards. They were still able to push them around. So, and I don't know, what's the scoop on Barr? I know he left the game, but he's an important part of this defense. And if he's out, then, I think Williams will still get yards. He's not Swift, but he's still a professional football player, Jimmy, and he's still going to go out there and do a job.
I've never disliked him. I think he can do the job. I guess you're right. I certainly lean towards the Vikings. Where was the cash here in this spot? What did I say here? Yeah, 16% of the tickets, 34% of the cash. That will change, obviously, but at this point, Brady says Kittle's back. 49ers run game being dominant since he got back. Okay. Harold Williams says Lions are a bad football team that can't move the ball. This is my easiest pick this week. So. And R doesn't mess around. He's from here in Toronto as well, and he doesn't mess around. He's a good capper. Okay. I think the Vikings take out some of their anger, but I don't want to bet it with these splits at this point. So I'm just going to leave a bunch of question marks, and I'm not going to bet it this evening. I will stare at it, though.